Perfect. Well, good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Ria Carlson, and I'm going to speak a little bit today about brain food. As I mentioned when we joined each other, I'm a class 5-7 driving instructor, and I teach the GLP here, which is a graduated licensing program. And I'm an administrator for a commercial driving school. And I have a varied background in sales, accounting, teaching, human resources. So I have a little bit of everything. And I just wanted to thank you both for joining me today. Just an acknowledgement. I'm very blessed to get to work, play on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Salish Okanagan people. And just a proud ally. I always like to encourage space where where diversity is celebrated and all individuals, or regardless of sexual orientation, gender, identity, or their expression, are respected and supported. And I am committed to creating an environment where every individual feels safe, valued, and empowered to be their authentic selves. I strive to foster inclusivity and understanding and equality for everyone. So my agenda today is what is brain food, a little bit around cognitive function, what foods benefit the brain the most and what do not, and then how does it all work? And then, as my nephew likes to say, fun facts, some other brain food, and a little bit of question and answers. So as I was doing my research, I found 3 really fun definitions. And the more you look, the more you can find. So I sort of, going through the process, decided to do a little bit of a mashup. So the definition that I'll be working with today is, it makes sense that food consumed optimizes brain health, mental performance, and cognitive function. So that's sort of the perspective that I'll be looking at, the lens that which I'll be looking through this through. So I thought it would, in order to sort of get a picture of what I was talking about, I really needed to take some time to define cognitive function, because that plays such an important part in nutrition. So the American Psychology Association says that the definition of cognitive function is the performance and the mental process, perception, learning, memory, understanding, awareness, reasoning, judgment, intuition, and language. Nutrition is deeply intertwined with cognitive function in the brain, and the nutrients we consume impact neurotransmitter synthesis, protect against oxidative stress, promote neuroplasticity, and influence the overall health of brain cells. So, the regions of the brain that are involved with nutrition are the prefrontal cortex, and that's just kind of this area here, front, middle, top of your head. And the hippocampus is sort of in more central or inside, and it's located within your temporal lobe as well. And there are other brain regions that rely on adequate energy and nutrients to function optimally. The brain uses glucose as its primary energy source, consuming complex carbohydrates. A steady supply of glucose, essential for attention, decision-making, and memory. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA. Now, it's an acid, and I'm not going to try and butcher the definition of it, or try and say the pronunciation of the word, because I'm not quite sure. Stephanie, you can probably speak to that. But it's critical for maintaining the structural integrity of cell membranes in the brain, especially in regions like the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. DHA supports synaptic plasticity, which is vital for learning and memory, as I mentioned. And then the fatty acids are critical for maintaining the structural integrity of cell membranes in the brain, especially in the regions, again, prefrontal that we spoke about. So which foods benefit our brain the most? Definitely leafy greens, such as kale, spinach, collards and broccoli are rich in brain-healthy nutrients like vitamin K, lutein, folate, and beta-carotenes. Fatty fish, the protein that forms damaging clumps in the brain of people with Alzheimer's, is one of the reasons that we should try and consume fatty acids or omega-3s. And we should try and eat fish at least twice a week. But choose varieties that are low in mercury, such as salmon, cod, canned light tuna, and pollock. If you're not a fish fan, ask your doctor about taking an omega-3 supplement. And then berries are really an important aspect of proper brain function and food that our brain needs to be well. A study done by researchers at Harvard's Brigham and Women's Hospital found that women who consume 2 or more servings of strawberries and blueberries each week have delayed memory decline by up to 2.5 years. So there's a lot of science around, berries and women's health. Because I'm a woman, I sort of couldn't help myself but looking a little deeper at that. And there's a lot of research around tea and coffee. The caffeine in your morning cup of coffee or tea might offer more than just a short-term concentration boost. In a study published in the Journal of Nutrition, participants with higher caffeine consumption scored better on tests of mental function. So caffeine might help also solidify new memories, according to other research. Investigators at Johns Hopkins University asked participants to study a series of images and then either take a placebo or 200 milligram caffeine tablet. More members of the caffeine group were able to identify the images the following day. So just a lot of research, and you can almost, never be done studying it all, because there's so much science that we know and understand about our brain's nutrition. Nuts. They're an excellent source of protein and healthy fats, and one type of nut in particular might improve memory. A study from UCLA linked higher walnut consumption to improved cognitive test scores. So walnuts are high in a type of omega-3 fatty acid called an ALA. Diets rich in ALA and other omega-3 fatty acids have been linked to lower blood pressure and cleaner arteries. So that's good for both the heart and the brain, and that's important. And then I added this one. It wasn't a part of a research paper particularly, but as I was looking at brain health overall, water is so important. It can dehydration can impair energy levels, mood, and lead to major reduction in memory and brain performance. So I thought that was important to include in today's presentation. So I guess now we'll just talk a little bit more about how does food actually impact our brains, and they're intricately connected. So not really being, well versed in all of this, I just sort of found that they were broken into lots of different micronutrients and all different types of things. So I'm going to do my best to try and explain it. Foods and the brain are intricately connected, with nutrients that we consume playing a significant role in brain function, mood, cognitive, and overall mental health. So here's a sort of a breakdown of how these all look. Glucose, the brain relies heavily on glucose. So a simple sugar as its primary source of energy. Carbohydrates from foods like fruit and vegetables and grains are broken down into glucose, providing the energy needed for cognitive functions such as thinking, learning, and memory. So the effect of glucose, consistent glucose levels, it supports cognitive functions, again, like attention, memory, and learning. And fluctuations in glucose can lead to difficulty in concentrating or feeling mentally sluggish. Proteins. Amino acids. These are building blocks of proteins found in foods like meat, fish, eggs, and beans. Amino acids are essential for producing neurotransmitters, which are the chemicals that transmit signals in the brain. For example, tryptophan found in turkey and dairy is converted to serotonin, a neurotransmitter that regulates your moods. Protein can break down into amino acids, which are used to create neurotransmitters. For example, dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine that regulate mood, cognition, and mental clarity. Adequate protein intake supports the synthesis of neurotransmitters, which are critical for memory and learning. And then, of course, the omega-3 and 6 fatty acids. Spoke a lot about these a little bit, just a little bit more detail. Found in fish, nuts, and seeds, and they're crucial for maintaining the structure of brain function. Omega-3 fatty acids in particular are associated with cognitive function and neuroprotection, reducing the risk of mental decline as we age. Structurally, the brain is made up of nearly 60% fat, and omega-3 fatty acids from sources like fish are essential for building brain cell membranes. Neuroprotection and function, omega-3 fatty acids, DAH, are involved in brain development, protecting neurons and maintaining plasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt. Cognitive mood and function, omega-3s are linked to better cognitive function, improved mood, and may reduce the neurodegenerative diseases. Micronutrients. Vitamins like B6, 12, folic acid, as well as minerals like iron, magnesium, and zinc play vital roles in brain function. They support energy production, neurotransmitter synthesis, and protect against oxidative stress, which can damage brain cells. Vitamin B and B complex vitamins are essential for nerve function and energy production in the brain. They help in the synthesis of neurotransmitters and support brain health by reducing levels of homocysteine, and I've probably said that wrong, an amino acid linked to the brain degeneration. Antioxidants like vitamins C and E help reduce oxidative brain stress, which can lead to damaging brain cells over time. Antioxidants protect the brain from aging and neurodegenerative diseases. Iron is vital for carrying oxygen to the brain. A lack of iron can cause cognitive issues like poor concentration and memory problems. Zinc helps regulate communication between neurons and has a role in memory and learning. Magnesium supports nerve transmission and the relation of muscles, which helps reduce stress levels. And which foods are bad for our brains? No big surprise here, I'm sure, to any of us. Some foods do have a more negative effect on our brains. So sugary drinks, for example, can affect your brain in a negative way. They increase the risk of dementia, which I did not know. A primary component of many sugary drinks is high fructose corn syrup, which is 55% fructose and 45% glucose. Animal studies have shown that a high fructose intake can lead to insulin resistance in the brain, as well as a reduction in brain function, memory, learning, and the formation of brain cells. In refined carbs, that includes sugars and highly processed grains, such as white flour. Research has shown that a single meal with a high glycemic load can impair memory in both children and adults. Processed foods. Diets high in processed foods, trans fats, and refined sugars are linked to cognitive decline and mental health issues like depression and anxiety. And these foods can lead to chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, which negatively impact brain health. Nutrient deficiencies. Deficiencies in essential nutrients such as vitamin D, iron, and omega-3 fatty acids can lead to cognitive impairment, mood disorder, and a higher risk of neurodegenerative diseases. So some brain tips and tricks that I sort of learned as I was going through this, and this came from the Brain Health Food Guide. They recommend that you choose color. Eat a colorful assortment of fruits and vegetables at each meal. Uh, Keep your kitchen stocked with dried or canned beans, frozen or canned fish, frozen vegetables and fruit. Add beans or legumes to soups, stews, and salads. Stir fries, snack and just snack smart. Choose nuts, fresh fruit, chopped vegetables, and low-fat yogurt. Keep hydrated. Drink water or other unsweetened drinks. Northwestern University had their medical department had a really fun fact brain sheet, and I thought I would share a few of them with you. Just fun to look at. Fatty acids are crucial for everyone's brain performance, so make sure you're fueling it with healthy brain boosting nutrients. Brain development begins from the back of your brain and works its way to the front. As a result, your frontal lobes, which control planning and reasoning, are the last to strengthen and structure connections. Another fun fact is research suggests that the human brain consists of about 86 billion neurons. Each neuron forms a connection to other neurons, which could add up to 1 quadrillion connections. Over time, these neurons can combine and further increase storage capacity. They can also become damaged and stop working, such as in diseases like Alzheimer's, affecting memory in particular. When a neuron is stimulated, it generates an electrical pulse that travels from cell to cell, and your spinal cord consists of bundles of nerve tissues and support cells that are responsible for sending messages from your brain throughout your whole body. So that is sort of a summary. I'll just touch base on a couple things. Certainly it's important to have a well-balanced diet and be eating from all the food groups, and making healthy and good choices is sort of what I took away from this. Emphasis around a lot of color in your diet is incredibly important. And I thought we'd kind of move into some question and answers here. Let's see how we did. There we go.
Nice. That was great.
Thank you. I was a little intimidated when you said you were a nurse and a nutritionist. I was like, oh, I better get this right.
Sorry, no, you did great. You did really good. You
Oh,
lovely slides and well presented. I thought you did great.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I do have one little comment.
Please.
Just as in terms of like when you say amino acids, your references were to meat and dairy. As a plant-based nutritionist, we could open that up a little bit because there are complete amino acids in plant foods such as quinoa and buckwheat and spirulina and hemp seeds and hearts. So just a little bit more vegetarian sort of is my angle. We can get everything we need from plants combination. So that was just my only little like, oh, like where's the hemp seeds? Where's the chia seeds?
You're absolutely right. And I did
Yeah.
look at so much of that. I and I just wasn't sure exactly how to fit it in
Yeah.
because it's a big conversation.
Yeah.
It is a big conversation and it can be a little bit controversial. Like everybody feels a certain sort of way, and absolutely plants are so important to nutrition. There's no question
Mhm.
around that. I just I was unsure how to fit more things into my presentation. And but you are right, and I appreciate your comment. I could have addressed that in some small way or another.
Yeah, that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought you did really well. Yeah. And it's such a big subject. Holy moly. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
you can only touch on a few things and then you're done. Like, if you have 30 minutes, I mean, what are you gonna touch on? So I find like cognitive load is pretty big right now. I try to take as many notes as possible. There's so much interesting stuff in there.
Mhm.
Just about the different things that you know create synaptic plasticity
Mhm,
and even provide structural integrity.
mhm,
Those things really stuck out to me. And then just the fact that even just knowing that the sugars, once we get to like the bad things and we go, oh, okay, well, sugar actually can increase dementia and um, insulin resistance and brain function. And that's, obviously, we can kind of relate to those things and how we feel after we eat them sometimes too, right? And um, so it's relatable and and then you can make those connections and it helps kind of stick these things up there too, right?
mhm,
The more you talk about it and the more that you um, are made aware of it and you're making us aware of it, which
mhm,
is great. So I like how I like how this course is like teaching, it's showing us how our brains work
mhm.
and it's showing me how I learn better too. Yeah. So yeah.
And not only,
Anyways,
one area I think, and I should, looking back, I can see, I thought of it at the beginning and didn't put in the slide. It's not, it's other things that feed our brains too. So things like music and poetry and like, those
yeah.
are important aspects as well to make sure
Mhm.
it's not just solely about nutrition. It's important to include things
Yeah.
stimulate our brains and there's a whole lot around that as well. And I think that's a kind of been a miss in my presentation as I look back, that I wish I had included a slide on that.
Well,
Yeah,
you
the
know what?
whole,
It's not food, right? And if you're talking
Yeah,
about I mean, there's so many areas you can go to, but that would be a great idea for a presentation or even to write about that one, in your reflection if you haven't done it yet.
I have not.
Mhm. Yeah, the holistic approach, like stress, what stress
Yes.
itself does to the brain, right? So there's so many, it's just huge, huge area. You can't cover it all, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't. And even
No.
when you start getting into nutrition, like looking specifically at, I had to go and look at what is a neurotransmitter. Like
Mhm.
it's such a big topic with so many. It's not something you just look at in a 6-week course or
Mhm.
8 weeks. It's going to take months and years to learn,
Yeah,
you
big
know,
topic. Yeah.
it's a big
And it's
topic.
not just the brain by itself, it's like the embodied brain. So
Mhm,
it's how we interact with things through our bodies.
mhm.
And I really, I got a lot out of that when I started this course. I had to take a little break, so I'm just remembering some of that from before. But I think my reflection was on the embodied brain, and so it's not just about how this is taking in things, right? It's about our bodies and how it's taking in things and helping us learn. So through music and exercise and even being social or the foods we eat or touch or smell, all of those things have something to do with how our brain works and how it takes the information and then is absorbed into our body too.
Absolutely. And I think, it's like the things that we smell, the things that we hear. Like it's such a, and it almost all points, like all of these things, to not just brain health, but like mental well-being and all of these things work in conjunction. And I love your point about exercise. Like as women, how, I mean, I have an office job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think if you really start to look at health and nutrition in an overall way, you can't just look at food. You have to look at your stress load.
Mhm.
You have to look at what are you feeding your brain from the perspective, like plant-based nutrition, poetry, books that we love to read, the
Mhm.
music that we listen to. Like it's just reducing the stress, keeping relationships, that are healthy, and like, and that all becomes so personal for each individual. Um, because some things we do better than others, right?
Mhm. This is it. This is holistic health, all of it.
It is. And
Mhm.
it's such a big topic and it's so interesting.
Yeah.
I did not, I really enjoyed learning about this because I didn't actually real, and then of course, as I'm reading along and doing things, I come across this whole area of like, how does drugs and alcohol affect brain
Mhm.
health? And, I could have gone on a whole tangent about that. And
Right.
like, it's a big topic. It really is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
what we put in our bodies is a huge topic. Yeah. So
Mhm.
cheers to you to for taking that on and just kind of simplifying it into a few categories for us to understand it a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice.
awesome.
I'm definitely going to be looking into it more. I mean, I'm getting a lot out of this course, and it's intriguing, and I'd love to continue learning about the brain and about food and all the other things that affect our brain.
Absolutely. And I had, when I had my meeting with Dwayne, that was one area that he really put a lot of emphasis on. It's super important. Or one of the goals of this course is that we continue to look at, you know, our brains and how it relates to teaching and learning and our philosophy around all of these things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it actually helps me to know why, like I watched the presentation on love and falling in love and what that's doing in our brains. It's interesting to be more self-aware of why our brains are are taking us in that direction. It's like a natural way of it transmitting into this is why you want to love and this is why you want to drink. This is why you because you want this reward system and your reward system is built into our brains already. So if we can understand it and be more aware of what our brain is actually doing, we can kind of more control why we're feeling these drawn to these things too, right? And like, well, I acted this way today because of that too, right? Like, so our reactions are totally at play into because of the way our brain functions. If we're aware of those things, maybe we can have more control over them too.
Mhm. That's a really good point. And one thing I was considering as I was doing this is just how much impact advertising has on my nutritional choices.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, and how busy I am. How easy is it for me to stop and grab, you know, Indian food on the way home? Got to get this and that. And, you know, I'm making choices based on, again, it's just a time advertising.
Yeah.
I get sucked into these things, and it the awareness that I got out of this doing this presentation was a lot, because I found it wasn't just one thing. It's lots of things that are affecting my brain health. Even so much
Yeah.
as, yeah, Stephanie, you must
Do
have
you
something.
find, yeah, do you find that it's interesting though that like if we simplify foods, right? If so, like we take away that media telling us you need the supplements, you need this in combination, you need this, but if you get back to just a simple whole foods diet, unprocessed, you can meet all of your nutritional requirements with if you know without a new nutritional deficit, but it doesn't have to be complicated, good nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what you surround yourself with too, right? And I mean, if you're in the city and you're in an office and all the way home, there's advertisements down the road and there's Burger King and there's a Waffle House and you know all sorts of things. I mean, that if that's what you're surrounded with every day, then that's what you see and that's what's impacting you. So, I mean, sometimes we don't have a choice what's out there. I mean, we're not asking them to advertise to us. We you know we can't just do this.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
I mean, it's our surroundings, and then we have to try to control, you know, what happens around us, I guess, where we are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, protect us, ourselves.
Interesting you use that word control. I think that's so interesting, because it, nutrition is about control. Shopping is about control. But how
Yeah.
often do you get into the grocery store? And I love this time of year because I'm always at the fruit stand near my house. And so I do try and incorporate a local um, fruit, vegetables, things that are available to me, eggs. But how
But
often?
that's a reward system too, because you know you're supporting local, and your brain is telling you that you want to support local because it makes you feel good about where you live and supporting the local community and their farms.
Absolutely.
So, isn't that cool too? Um, Oh, I was thinking about something else and I forgot what I was going to say. There's just so much to think about. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Stephanie, do you believe there's any benefits to eating locally?
I do, yeah. So
Your
local
100 mile
growers
diet?
usually, yeah, 100%. And I mean, here we're very lucky in the Kootenays where we have local growers. So soil is going to be so much better than mass-produced soil, right? So ahead of the game already, our soil is going to be filled with good microbes and really, really healthy. So the food's growing, and then it's has a short transport time. So all that maintained freshness and nutrients is going to be preserved. It's fresh. It's likely organic. And then socially and ethically, it does feel good to support probably your friends and your community. So that whole cycle of going down with a grocery bag, talking to the grower, knowing that it's going to be fresh, knowing it's going to be nutrient dense, that's basically the ultimate connection with food.
Yeah. Yeah. Connects us to the earth too.
Yeah.
Stephanie,
Yeah.
you have a remarkable way of simplifying a big topic in such a very nice way.
I've had some time to think about it.
I bet.
Think about these things. It's all it's inspiring here in the Kootenays, right? It's health and lifestyle, well-being. Feel very lucky to be here. So that influence here for health is around me. Whereas, and I go back home to Ontario and I visit my family and I live on Fast Food Alley and there we are, we're grabbing burgers because it is around us. And that is our reality. But here I feel very lucky to be here because
Yeah.
our environmental, our social influence does make us healthy.
It does. It absolutely does.
Easier.
And I think when you get into, like, I live in Kelowna, so again, there are options available and I do take advantage of them. But again, it is just that time, that pressure, that advertising, those coupons, whatever, it's all relative to the decisions that I make about my food,
Yeah.
nutrition, exercise.
It's harder. It's more
It's
work.
harder. It is for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gosh, you guys have just been so lovely to have my presentation. I enjoyed this very much.
Thank
Good.
you for having us.
Good
Thank
job.
you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And if you guys need any help along the way, I will post my, you can always reach me at Taylor Pro College, ria.carl,
Okay.
taylorprotraining.com. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about the program or I can help you with anything.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you
Nice
for
to meet you
joining.
guys.
Yes. You guys
You
have a
as
good day.
well. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.